Hello and welcome to Intuitive Nature, the podcast. My name is Susan Jane and I believe that trusting your intuition is the best way to live your life with meaning and purpose. Each week you will hear about how you can connect, develop and trust your intuition through meditations, readings and my own personal experiences. Join me to understand how your intuition can guide you towards a life full of meaning and loving purpose. Hello and welcome to The Art of Intuition. I'm Susan Jane, the Intuitist, and I'm your host for this series. Now, today I wanted to talk about the change, the obvious change in the branding. It hasn't all come through yet. I'm still in stages of it, but we've changed it to be called, from going from Intuitive Nature to be called The Art of Intuition. Now, one of the reasons why I liked The Art of Intuition is that it resembles creativity. Like art is like creativity. And intuition is very much like that. If you're intuitive, you are actually quite creative. Now, when I refer to it in that sense, to be creative, you can be, you're using your five senses, like you're seeing or vision, you are drawing or painting, so that's all very visual. You're using your touch, you're using the sense of feeling when you're doing sculpturing or pottery or creating sculptures and different things like that. There's that element of touch. When you're hearing, your creativity could be in playing music. You know, you're playing the keyboard, you're listening to the sounds. I can tell you when I'm playing on the guitar or anything like that. I can tell you when it's out. But when I'm trying to tune it, I can never tell when it's in. And I know that sounds really strange, but I can tell when it's out. And when I tune them up, I can tell when something is out, but not when it's necessarily in. So we all have our different physical elements or physical senses that we use when we're being creative. Now, being intuitive is very, very similar. But because we use our senses, our physical senses, because being intuitive, the meaning of intuition, what intuition means as far as I look at it, is the communication between your spiritual self and your physical self. So it is how your spirit talks or communicates with your physical body. Now, obviously, it's not necessarily all about talking. It's not all about the words. A lot of it is to do with our feelings, our emotions, what we're sensing around us, what's going on, what we're seeing. You know, like when we see the same numbers repeating themselves over and over, it's your intuition sort of going, you need to look there. You need to look there now, and you'll see these numbers come up. Why is it that I often see the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4? It could be 34 minutes past 12. So it's 12:34, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm always seeing these running numbers. And when you look them up as angel numbers, you'll see the different reasons behind them. And let's face it, 1, 2, 3, 4, as far as the clock goes, only happens twice during that 24-hour period. Why is it I'm always seeing it around lunchtime? And it's not because I have lunch break at the same time. I assure you, I work from home. I go in and out of this office, this area regularly at different times. I won't have lunch at the same time. So it's not like I'm deliberately looking, it's 12:30, I need to go to lunch. There's no concept behind it except my intuition is saying, look that way. Why is it that when we're in a car with somebody and we hear something come over the radio and the other person who's driving doesn't hear it, and yet we're in the car together? Now, that's often happened to me. I will say to my partner, did you hear that? And he'll go, no, I wasn't listening. I wasn't paying attention. But why was I paying attention? I have no idea. I could have been looking out at the scenery, could have been talking about a shop that we're going past or a beautiful scenery, and all of a sudden I hear something on the radio or a song or something happens, the words of a song. That's our hearing, and that's our intuitive messages coming through via the sound, via the sight, via touch. We get that thought or that knowing as well. have you ever wondered when you are being creative? At the moment, I'm learning to do painting, and I've always wanted to do art, like do painting. As a child, or even growing through my years, I did a lot of sewing. I played in a band. I've done a lot of creative stuff, but I've always wanted to paint. I really respect artists, and I love doing the dimension paint, so that really thick paint that you get that real dimension through. So I love that sort of that artwork, but never felt confident in doing it. Now I've started doing it here, but I still get that uneasy feeling about it. There's times there when I can just lose myself in it, and there's other times where I have to sort of force myself to even go to that area and start painting. And this is where our intuition is really, really connecting with us. It's about that knowing, that feeling of doing it at that right time. So the reason why, again, I went with intuition, or with the art of intuition, is because I want you just to be really, really aware that you may not be a channeler. That may not be your cup of tea. It's not my cup of tea. I've done it, but it's not really where I wanted to go. So there's lots of other ways that we can be intuitive, like creative, but we can do it in our own way. And what these podcasts, these videos, the courses, the online courses that I'm creating, what they're going to do is help you experience a couple of different ways. Now, at the moment on the YouTube, where I've got a lot of the videos, I used to go paddling every morning, and I'd just paddle up the Currumbin Creek, and I'd have the video going. Now, I didn't want the video going of me in my swimmers going up the creek. That wasn't not my idea of fun. So I actually took the video as I'm talking of the creek. So you can see the beautiful creek as you go in. You see me hitting trees and all sorts of stuff. So it's really quite out there. But I called them the river ramblings, my river ramblings, because I'd go down there and I'd get this intuitive message that I wanted to share, and they would just come through. And in the river ramblings, you'll find different areas of like short 3-minute videos, and then you'll have longer 9-minute videos, you know. So we've got these different elements there. Some of them are quick, insightful messages. Others are more about how I would test theory. So I have them called theory testing. Now, when I was learning to do intuition and getting an understanding of the spirituality side, in those days, we didn't have, obviously, the internet. Yes, I'm that old. We didn't have the internet. We had to get books. So I didn't have a lot of money, didn't have a big budget or anything like that. So I would go to the local library and get books out. I'd get 10 books, you know, whatever, have them out for a couple of weeks and read them. Now, when you're reading these books, you're taking a bit of information out of each element, each author, right? So I'd have a book. I had Eckhart Tolle. I had, oh gosh, all of them. I've gone through all of those books, but I'd only take out what I needed out of those books. I didn't necessarily take on board all of it. And there was times there when I would start reading something and I'd go, I've already read this before. I'm not really sure whether that resonates with me. And I'd read a little bit more, and then there'd be another element of it that would resonate, or it would allow me to see things in a different way. Now, nowadays we have the internet. Now, I didn't bother putting all this out there in my early days because I just felt that there was enough information out there. Everybody, you could get whatever you needed. Just Google it. However, talking recently to my daughter and a few of the other younger ladies around here, the flips has happened. There is that much information out there that it's really, really hard to decipher what you want to take on board and what you don't, who to trust and who not to trust. And what I've found, or what I believe in, is the fact that there is so much information out there. There's so many people that are willing to give their information. And, you know, like if you want to be a 6-figure business, just follow these easy steps. But it's not intuitive. It's their way of how they may have intuitively got there, but it's not necessarily your way. And this is what's so important. We are so content in listening to what everyone else says, taking on board what everyone else does, following people in that manner, that we forget to start to listen to ourselves. We forget the importance of our life and our journey and our experiences. And that is what I want to bring forward with these little workshops, with these different areas that we have. It's not about you following me and doing what I tell you to do. That's just stuff and nonsense. And I'd swear, but I'm not allowed to because YouTube will get up me. So it's about you trusting in you. It is about you listening to what your signs are saying, what your intuition is saying, what your spirit is guiding you towards. Now, if you're not happy with something, if something doesn't feel right, it's because it isn't right for you. And I'm not saying that what you're doing or what's not feeling right is wrong. No, it's just not right for you. And it may be because you've outgrown it. It may be because you're needing to go down a certain path. And I have talked about this with a very dear friend, and she's been on the podcast with Melly. She's been on the podcast a few times, and I've talked to her about it because she did something very similar to me, and is that she started a photography business, and then it went from there to a video business, and then it went from there to another business, and then it went from there to something else. And we do this, and that's good. That's okay, because that's what we're learning to do. And it wasn't until I went through all the little stages that I had to go through to come to this conclusion that, hang on, listening to our intuition, following our intuition, acting upon it is a real art form. Now, we can do it in so many different ways. We can do it by listening. And that's only ever happened to me once. It was I was at an intersection ready to cross over, and I've talked about it before. It was a T intersection. I was about to turn right, and I heard this big voice, and people can say it's the word of God, the voice of God. You call it whatever you like. All I know is it was one of those times where you acted first, then checked out who was talking later. It was so strong, it's so clear. It was stop. And it was like, it wasn't can you please stop? It was holy stop. And I jammed my foot on the brake. I screamed to a halt. So, and as I did this, because I was ready to turn right in the C intersection, a car came up over the hill, all four wheels off the ground, and would have T-boned me if I'd gone any further, because he was on the, I was giving way, but it was a crest of the hill, so I didn't see him coming along. So when we're doing this art of intuition, it's all about understanding how we receive our messages, how we decipher those messages, and how we act on those messages. So we are not going to get the same message all the time. And I talk about that in River Ramblings. I tested the theories. I did not just take what was on those books and make them gospel. It had to be tested, and I did test the theories. There's some crazy ones there. I tested visualization, how you can manifest what you want, and that 6 months I did that for a visualization, and I ended up with $85,000 worth of changes to my home because I was visualizing a nice new farmhouse. And it all came about, not quite how I expected it to, but it did come about. And yeah, there's no way known I would have been able to spend $85,000 to fix up this farmhouse. Unfortunately, it didn't fix up my relationship, which is probably what I should have been focusing on. But I did get a nice house in the end, and we did have to sell it because the relationship broke down. So these are the sort of things that happen. Now, again, I'm pretty good at visualization. I'm pretty good at that mental thought to manifest what we want or manifest what we like. So I'm pretty good at that. I also have a very strong moral aspect towards that. So when I'm asking for things, I'm not asking for things that could be detrimental to somebody else. So I do have that element there. It's very, very sort of basic, and I do now focus more on how I'm feeling rather than the actual article. I don't really need to have a big flash house anymore. Well, I've already got that. but I do need to have a happy relationship and a conducive environment to work and live in. So, and that's what I've got, and that's my focus. My next focus now is to be able to share some of this information, not because I want 100 million followers, that'd be okay, but that's not what my goal is. My goal is to empower you to trust yourself, to start to believe in who you are and the feelings and the emotions and the experiences you're having, and allowing that to go forward. You're having these experiences because you could be on the wrong path. One of the elements I remember going through a pretty strong stage of I wanted to know what my life purpose was. It was the catchphrase at the time. I wanted to know what my life purpose was. You know, where am I going? What am I meant to be doing? And I'd get these little snippets of different things, and you go for that, and then another little snippet, and yeah, I'll go for that one. And consequently did lots and lots of things. One of them was writing the book. I wrote the book. It was awful. You know, it was really terrible. It was so detailed, you couldn't read it. So that's the second version of it, which is a lot better. You can actually read it now. But the first book, even though for me personally, I felt it was a failure, it wasn't a failure. It allowed me to write a book that you can read. But with all that information that I gathered, it's allowed me to create workshops and online courses. I've got 10 online courses that you can use from this book. And so it's amazing. This little book that I was too scared to sell for $30 each now has become quite a big online course aspect. And it teaches you how to do flower readings. It teaches you how to connect with your intuition by doing flower readings. It teaches you how to start to believe in yourself, because when you're doing readings of any sort, anything like that, you have to trust you. You have to trust those messages you're getting. They may not make sense when you're getting them, but you have to trust them. And these intuitive flowers, the courses that I'm putting together, well, I've got them together. I'm going to do the remarketing with the new branding, but they're all about, they give you the physical signs to look for. So what your physical body needs, you know, that reality, the understanding, the logic, it goes right through that, because I'm very, very logical in that aspect. So it's all very, very logical that way. But as you're looking at the logic, you start to bring in the intuition, you start to bring in the spiritual element too. Because when you're doing, say, a flower reading, you've got the stem of the flower. Now that's like your path or your journey. So you've got this stem. Now what you do is you look at the stem and you go, well, okay, is it a strong stem? Is it holding up that flower? Because there's some stems that can't hold up a flower. If you think of a climbing flower, they have to have support for them to have the flower there. Whereas if you think of a standard rose, you know, the big, long, straight stem standard rose, they don't need to have support. But that path is grown, that path or that stem is grown for a very particular reason, you know, because it is a cut flower. It is a design to be cut and given away. So we can look at these different things. We start to get this feeling for it. So we're looking at a stem and we're going, well, it's big or it's small, it's woody or it's soft and pliable. And we start to think about our journeys or the journey that the person could be taking to reach their goal, because the flower is the goal. So we start to look at it that way. So I can give you the logics, but you start to intertwine that with your information that you're receiving, the other areas of the flowers that you're looking at, the person that's in front of you, or that you're doing it for online. And we start to get this really clear information. So it's not about sitting there teaching you how to do meditation and and be quiet and do this and do that. It's actually giving you those physical signs that your intuition will bring up, those physical elements, and allowing your spiritual side to come through and determine what that means to you. Because a soft path or soft stem for a flower could be a sign of weakness for someone. but it could be a sign of being flexible and being able to move and grow around the situations that are happening in your life to achieve your goal. So we all have different ways of looking at it. And that's what I really enjoy doing. I love knowing that what I've said can mean absolutely nothing if it feels different to you. And that's what the beauty is. I don't want to tell you how to think or feel, but I want to touch those trigger points that allow you to really get in touch with yourself. So that's why I've gone with the art of intuition. Gosh, I carried on, didn't I? Sorry. That's why I've gone with the art of intuition. I really do feel it is an art. And if it doesn't suit you one way, if you don't want to do card readings, if that doesn't suit you, do it another way. There's other ways to do visualization. You can do that way. You don't have to be doing card readings for somebody. You can be doing visualizations for yourself. You can be doing pendulum work for yourself. It's all about how you see those signs. But when you're starting to, that they say there's no such thing as coincidence. So when you're starting to see these signs, be really, really mindful of them. You don't have to do anything with them. Just be mindful of them. One of the other areas I looked at too when I was getting an understanding of it all, just not long ago, I hadn't been doing card readings for a long time. I found with card reading, this is what happened. I found with card readings, I'd go to somebody and I'd get a reading and I'd come out really, really disappointed. Now, I wasn't disappointed that I paid money to get a card reading. I was disappointed that whatever the person said to me, I already knew. I wanted to know something different. I already knew that. And so it sort of put me off a little bit. And I remember telling a friend of mine saying, oh, I just don't want to do them anymore. They don't tell me anything different. They just tell me what I already know. And she just cracked up laughing and said, well, that's because you're intuitive. You don't need to do that. You just need to follow what you're hearing. And it was like a real aha moment, oh, duh, really. So it was a real aha moment. And that's when I thought, well, it's very, very true. I do understand where I'm coming from. And when people start doing a reading for me, and I've already got all that, it's like, well, yeah, doesn't mean a lot. So, but when you start to go, I've done this before, and I've shuffled the deck, and I want one strong, clear answer. I want a yes or a no. That's it. I don't want to have any of this pretending it's a yes or trying to work out that it's a no. Here is my question. I want a yes or a no answer. And when I was doing the shuffling of the deck, knowing that there's really only 2 cards in that deck of the 50, and I can't remember how much, I think it was 57 cards or something in that particular deck. There was only one yes and one no. And I said, I want a yes or a no. Now, what are the chances of 57 cards you getting the yes or the no? Like I get that it's coincidence can come into play, but honestly, really? And I got the yes, and it came up. Bang, one card, it was a yes. Now, that doesn't happen all the time because majority of times it's not a clear message. Majority of times the question you're asking isn't a yes, no answer. It could be a yes, but, or yes, maybe. But this particular time it was like, no, I'm not going to take or a nah. I want a yes or I want a no because I'm not going to be mucking around anymore. And however I asked it or however it went through, and I can't even remember what the question was now, but it was a definite yes, and I just went with it, and that was it. So we can do this. We can do this. If you don't get a clear yes and a no, there's a reason behind it, and we need to look at that and be aware of that. So this is all our intuitive messages coming through. When you hear a song, when you hear something, just say to yourself, well, why did I hear that? Why did that come out then? Why did I hear that? You know, when you have days when you're getting, you're just having a crappy day. I mean, I've had a pretty crappy week, I have to be honest. And then there's times there when you sort of go, you know, you hear a song and it just makes you cry. You just burst out into tears for no particular reason. And somebody will say, well, what's wrong? And you go, I have no idea. I just want to cry. That's your intuition allowing those emotions to go forward. You know, we don't want to sit and wallow in them, but we do want to get rid of them. So that's your spirit going, get rid of it. Had enough of it. Don't want to play anymore. Get rid of it. So being intuitive is just like being creative, but we can get our information, receive it, decipher it, try and work it out, and then act on it in many, many different ways, just like you can create art, create craft, create music, create whatever it is, whatever you're creating. We do it through the senses, the five senses of the physical body. When we're being intuitive, we receive it, we assess it, and we action it through the five senses as well. But it's coming from us, not from somebody else. Another aspect too you can look at is when you're, you know, when you have those moments and you want to be creative, or you're trying to do something, and it's just I give myself a certain amount of time to go and do some painting, and I often get downstairs and I'm in my painting space, and then I just go, I really don't know what to paint. It's just not flowing. And yet other times when I'm meant to be here working, all I want to do is paint. And because we're getting those intuitive messages to come through, and it's exactly the same when you wanted to create. If you wanted, sorry, now hang on, I've just got confused there. When you wanted to create, you get that. And so same with the intuitive. So I often get my intuitive messages when I'm in the shower, when I'm near water. If I feel a little bit stagnant, I'll go for a walk in I love walking in the hills, in the mountains. So that is my like reset spot. And that not only helps me intuitively, but it actually helps me creatively as well. So they really do go hand in hand. So that's why I've called it the art of intuition. Now, there was another thing I wanted to talk to you about too. I've got a workshop coming up this weekend. It's a closed workshop, so it is for a sporting team, and it's all about performance anxiety. And they are struggling because it's a high-profile women's team. They're struggling with their performance. Well, actually, not with their performance, with their anxiety for their performance. And yeah, I just wanted to touch base on that, because when you're learning the flower, or learning how to do flower readings, or any of your other sorts of readings, you can incorporate that into your own business. You can incorporate that into other areas of your life. And with this weekend's workshop, the ladies don't know what they're doing. All they know is that it's about performance anxiety. Now, I've worked with some high-profile coaches in this area with football and which is soccer, I suppose you call it in America. So I've worked with some high-profile coaches here, and again, they don't know. They think it's all about mindset. They know it's about performance anxiety. So what I'm going to be doing is talking to them about performance anxiety and what it is. So when we talk about performance, is sometimes we've got that fear of failure. That's one part of performance anxiety. And anxiety is fear of the future. Okay, so when we're getting anxious, we're actually fearing something in the future. So it could have happened in the past, but it gives us a fear of the future, what it could happen again. So when we're looking at fear of failure and fear of the future, you're fearing failing in the future. That's what you're worried about with performance anxiety. That's one element. I do a couple of other elements of it, but that's one element that I'm addressing this weekend. So when we're looking at that side of it, we go through all the elements of the fear of failure and the fear of the future. We work our way through that. And really what we're looking at then is actually setting goals, the right goals. Now, most of you would have heard about the SMART goals and what that means. You know, you have to write it down and, you know, write it in the right sequence, and it's got to be achievable, and it's got to be measurable, and it's got to be realistic, and we go through all that. The thing is with performance anxiety, it is not a physical fear. It's an emotional fear. Fear of the future isn't physical, because we never get to the future. It's an emotional thing. Fear of failure is an emotional thing. So when we start talking about SMART goals, they're not about, they're about a physical goal. We have to have it timely. We have to have it measurable. So it's about a physical goal. What I will be talking about is our emotional goals, because if our emotional goals are in line with our physical goals, when we achieve those physical goals, we're going to feel good about it, because too often we set these goals and we achieve them, but we don't feel good about it because it's not had the emotional attachment to it. It's had all the analytical side to it. It's had, oh, it's got to be done here. It's got to be done this way. I've got to do these steps. It's very, very analytical. So we get to it, and there's no feelings attached to it. So what we're doing is emotional goals, and that's what the ladies don't know, and how we get your emotional goals. And it's how their intuition is telling them how to reach their emotional goals. And we do that through the flowers. It is amazing. They're going to draw their own flowers. So not only do they go through a light meditation, and we plant the seed and they create a flower, then they're going to have to draw that flower. So their intuition has not only created the flower in their meditation, they now have to draw the flower, and it's not an art contest. It's just about drawing that flower, trying to capture that image, and then we do a reading on it. And I make them do a reading on it. So if they've used colours, I say to them, so what do the colours mean? I give them a colour chart. They can go through the colours and they pick what the colour is. So it's not me saying, oh, well, red means passion, or red means this, and, rah, rah, rah. It's them going, well, this colour resonates. This is the colour I've used, and these words resonate with me. And so their intuition, again, is picking it. It's all about them, because it's their goals, it's their emotions, it's their intuition helping them get to where they need to be. And I don't know whether I've gone back into the spiritual side. I'm starting to get a bit low on time, so I really should move it along. But when we look at our physical body, we all know we live from point A to point B, and then the physical body goes. The physical body is here to hold our spiritual body, our spiritual self. The spiritual self is the part that you hear that is never ending. It's eternal, right? But the spiritual self can go from body to body to body. Now they're learning, the spiritual body or spiritual self is learning, or the soul. People call it the soul. I don't get hung up with names. It's you call it whatever you like. But this soul or this spiritual body will live in different bodies, and they get different learnings as they go. So although they've got a lot of learnings, they still have to come in to the physical body to learn. Why would they do that? Because they can't touch, they can't taste, they can't smell, they can't see, they can't hear. A spirit cannot do the 5 physical senses, but they do know. So there's a different element. And again, it's like you can read a book and learn how to ride a bike. You can read a book and learn how to swim. But until you get in that water, or you get on that bike, you really have not done it. So the spirit can know all about it, but until they've been in that physical body and they've tried to manipulate this body to do what it needs to do, and gives it the images and gives it the guidance and gives it the thought, it can't learn the same way. It's not experiencing it. It knows it, but doesn't experience it. So that's why the spirit has to be in the physical body. And I think I've gone a little bit off track here. So, so that's why I've gone with the art of intuition. It's all about us learning how we learn, the different ways we do. We are creative, we are intuitive, we're all the same. It's just how much you want to bring forward your creativity or your intuitivity. Oh, that's a new word. I haven't. I think I've made that one up, sorry. But that's what it's all about. So getting an understanding of how you're experiencing it, how you're assessing it, and then how you're actually actioning it. So I hope that that's helped. Next time you hear something, you go, why did I hear that? Next time you see something, why did I see that? Just start to ask the questions, because you'd be surprised when you've asked that like 3 times in one day and you link that up, it makes sense. it really makes sense. There's something that you've been thinking about, and all of a sudden you've just had 3 answers to it in 3 different ways. So yeah, be like when you kick your toe on the chair or something. Why did that happen? Okay, you just walk off with it, and then you do something else. Why did that happen? Why did I hear that? And you start to link them up. It's just amazing. That's when you're really starting to link into your intuition, really starting to hear those messages, that communication. So that's me for today. I hope you've had a great week. Mine was a little bit, but it's getting better, hopefully. No, it's definitely getting better. I've got a few interviews coming up for the podcast. I've also got my mother, who's not very well. She probably won't be around with us for too much longer. So I'm going down to Melbourne to spend some time with her. So I'm going to book up a few of these interviews. So I might not be on as a solo for the next couple of weeks, but I will have interviews for you. I've got some lovely ladies coming up. You want to see them. They're just amazing. You're going to love it. And it just allows you, again, not to take on board everything I've said, but to be able to listen and take on board what other people are saying, to their experiences and how they saw it, because that's what's really important, not just getting one person's idea or view and going, well, that's how you have to do it. It's getting an understanding of what resonates with you. Because if it resonates with you, you're going to go that way. You really are, because that's what you need to do. So follow your heart, stay safe, and look after our people around us. Just take care. If you want to follow me on, oh God, I tell you not to follow me, and then I say follow me. Oh, you know what I mean. If you want to subscribe, at least then you can get the information from these other ladies as well. We're all on YouTube as well now, so you can get that. I'm pretty sure I've got it down for the Art of Intuition. I've been changing things as I go, but I look forward to getting the new logo. That should be a couple of weeks away. So thank you again for listening. I hope you all have a great day. I'm going to end this podcast by saying bye for now. I'm Susan Jane, the Intuitist, and I wish you all the very best. Bye.